The morning sun rose over the glimmering glass panels of the Solaris Grand Mall, casting a gold sheen across its pristine marble floors. Inside, early shift workers bustled about, polishing railings, arranging mannequins, and unlocking display windows. Among them moved Rosa, the janitor with the frayed blue uniform and tired eyes, her mop bucket squeaking faintly across the tiles. Rosa Alvarez had been cleaning the Solaris Mall for the past 6 years. To most shoppers, she was invisible, a figure bent over mops and trash bins, someone to be politely ignored, or occasionally scolded if the restroom smelled too strongly of disinfectant. But behind her gentle nods and calloused hands was a woman battling life on every front. At 42, Rosa carried burdens heavier than her cleaning cart. A widow for nearly a decade, she had raised her daughter Mia on minimum wage, patching together night shifts and second jobs to keep the lights on. Recently, life had become even harder. Mia had been diagnosed with a rare autoimmune condition that caused flare-ups so severe she missed weeks of school at a time. Their small apartment in the outskirts of the city was one broken heater away from becoming unlivable, and Rosa had taken on extra shifts just to afford Mia's medication, which wasn't fully covered by insurance. Her world had shrunk to routines. 4 a.m. alarm, coffee with powdered milk, the bus ride where she prayed her shoes wouldn't give out, the long hours of scrubbing, bending, hauling, and the painful silence of returning home to her daughter's sickbed. She rarely smiled anymore, except when talking to Mia or the old security guard Henry, who sometimes slipped her sandwiches when she skipped lunch. And yet, Rosa never complained. She carried her mop with pride. There was dignity in work, she told Mia. There was honor in showing up, even when it felt like no one noticed. But on that chilly Tuesday morning, something changed. As Rosa emerged from the staff entrance near the back parking lot with her mop bucket in tow, a faint whimpering sound drew her attention. She paused. The lot was empty at this hour, just rows of silent vehicles and wind-blown trash. The whimper came again, soft and desperate. She followed the sound to a shadowed corner near a rusting dumpster. There, huddled behind a pile of discarded boxes, was a dog. Its white fur was matted with grime, a collar barely visible beneath the clumps. One of its legs was tucked at an awkward angle, and its brown eyes looked up at Rosa with pure fear and pain. Her heart stopped. "Oh, pobre angelito," she whispered, dropping to her knees. The dog growled softly, not out of aggression, but fear. Rosa didn't flinch. She reached slowly into her cart and pulled out her lunch, a chicken sandwich she'd saved for later. Peeling back the wrapper, she gently laid it within reach and spoke softly. "It's okay, you're safe now." The dog sniffed, then hungrily dragged the sandwich closer with its uninjured paw. As it ate, Rosa noticed a tag on the collar, engraved in silver but smeared with mud. She carefully wiped it with her sleeve. Zeus? A powerful name for such a fragile creature. Rosa couldn't leave him there. Not with the cold creeping in and crows circling above. She wrapped Zeus in her cleaning jacket and bundled him gently into her mop cart, cushioning him with spare towels. She would face the manager's wrath later if she had to. Right now, this little soul needed help. Inside the mall, she parked the cart behind a row of closed kiosks and knelt beside him, her hands trembling. She called Henry over, and together they used his coat and thermos of warm tea to stabilize the dog until Rosa's break, when she rushed him to the local vet, using her grocery money for the consultation. The vet frowned. "He's chipped," she said, "but the system's acting up. Can't get the owner details just yet. He's got a hairline fracture in his leg and signs of stress. Whoever he belongs to, he's been missing for days." Rosa sighed and rubbed Zeus's ears. "Don't worry, until we find them, you've got me." And so Zeus came home with her that night. Mia, pale and curled up in a blanket, gasped with delight when she saw him. For the first time in weeks, her laughter filled their tiny apartment. "He's like a cloud with eyes," she giggled, stroking his fur gently. Zeus curled beside her as if he had always belonged there. But elsewhere in the city, a very different world was reeling from Zeus's disappearance. Miles from Rosa's neighborhood, in a sprawling hilltop mansion equipped with retinal scanners and motion-sensing walls, a billionaire paced like a man possessed. Logan Vale, founder of Skylight Technologies, the tech firm behind the world's most advanced personal AI assistant, hadn't slept in 3 days. Zeus, his only connection to the life he had before the fame, fortune, and security gates, had vanished during a quick errand stop at Solaris Mall. It wasn't just that Logan loved the dog, it was that Zeus had been a gift from his late wife, the last thing she'd touched before the car crash that shattered Logan's world. He'd offered a $250,000 reward, hired private trackers, plastered Zeus's face on every screen in the city, but still no one had found him. Until now. Unbeknownst to him, a humble cleaning lady who didn't even own a smartphone had scooped his world back into her arms without asking for anything in return. 3 days had passed since Rosa found Zeus. Each morning before her shift, she fed him boiled chicken and cleaned his injured leg with care. Mia, despite her illness, insisted on being part of the routine, limping over with her hot water bottle to sit beside him and tell stories. Zeus was healing. He no longer whimpered at loud sounds. He slept curled up beside Mia's feet, his chest rising and falling in time with hers. To Rosa, it was as if he had brought more than warmth. He brought life back into their home. But kindness, no matter how quietly given, has a way of echoing across distance. That Friday morning, Rosa arrived at Solaris Mall early to sweep the south entrance, a corridor lined with luxury boutiques. She wore her usual cleaning gear, her badge faded, her cap pulled low. Few ever acknowledged her, except for one man today. He stood near the main fountain, wearing a gray hoodie and jeans, clean but not extravagant. His beard was unkempt, eyes hidden behind glasses. He looked completely ordinary, except for how still he was. In a place full of movement, he was frozen, watching. Rosa glanced at him while wringing her mop. He caught her eye and gave a polite nod. Unusual. Most customers avoided eye contact with janitorial staff. She offered a small smile back and returned to her work, but he approached slowly, as if trying not to startle her. "Excuse me," he said gently. His voice was deep but soft. "Are you the cleaning supervisor here?" No, just one of the early birds." He hesitated, then pulled something from his pocket. A flyer, creased and worn. On it, a photo of Zeus, tail wagging, standing proud in a field. Rosa's heart clenched. "I'm looking for my dog. He went missing outside this mall earlier this week." She wiped her hands on her pants and took the paper slowly. I think I found him." The man's eyes widened, his breath catching. "Where?" Rosa explained everything, how she'd discovered Zeus behind the dumpster, how she'd cared for him, even brought him home. She didn't mention the vet bills or the skipped meals. Her focus was on Zeus's health. As she spoke, she noticed the stranger's expression shift. Not just surprise, but something deeper. Gratitude, yes, but also pain. "I can take you to him after my shift," Rosa offered. "He's safe, eating well." The man nodded slowly, emotion thick in his throat. "Thank you, truly." There was a pause before he added, "My name is Logan." He didn't offer a last name. She didn't ask. To her, he was simply another person missing someone they loved. That was enough. That afternoon, Rosa brought Logan to her neighborhood. It was a far cry from the mall's polished interiors, rows of old apartments with cracked windows, uneven sidewalks, and the scent of laundry detergent wafting through open windows. As they climbed the narrow stairs to her second-floor unit, Rosa grew nervous. She glanced at her worn door, the peeling paint. What if he thought she was trying to keep the dog? What if he was angry? But Logan said nothing, just listened. She opened the door. Inside, Zeus was curled beside Mia on the couch, the girl reading aloud from a tattered book. The dog perked up immediately, tail thumping against the cushions. Then he saw Logan. His ears shot up. He leapt from the couch, despite the bandage on his leg, and ran straight into Logan's arms. The billionaire dropped to his knees, hugging the dog as if he'd been handed back a piece of his soul. "Oh, buddy," he whispered, burying his face in Zeus's fur.
Mia stood quietly nearby, her wide eyes curious. Logan looked up at her. "You helped take care of him?" Mia nodded. He sleeps next to me every night. He likes scrambled eggs, but not too runny." He smiled through tears. "You're amazing." Then his eyes met Rosa's again, soft, grateful, overwhelmed. "I don't know how to thank you." Rosa raised her hands, flustered. "Please, he needed help, that's all." "No, it's more than that," Logan said, rising to his feet. "You didn't know who he belonged to. You didn't ask for anything." She shook her head. "Some things don't need asking. He was scared, hurt, that's all I saw." That moment stretched in the quiet, broken only by Zeus wagging happily between them. Logan's gaze lingered on their humble apartment, the blanket-covered couch, the taped window, the pill bottles stacked neatly beside the kitchen sink. Then he said something unexpected. "Would you be okay if I came back tomorrow?" Rosa blinked. "You want to visit?" "To see Zeus and Mia, if that's all right." Rosa exchanged glances with her daughter, who lit up like a lantern. "I'd like that," Logan added quietly, "if you'll let me." That weekend, Logan returned. This time, he brought groceries, real ones, fresh vegetables, fruits, cheeses Mia had only seen on TV, and books, and a heated blanket for Mia's couch corner, and dog treats for Zeus, who ran into his arms again like they'd never parted. Rosa didn't understand why someone like him, so clearly out of place in their tiny apartment, kept coming back. He'd stay for an hour or two, never overstepping, never flashing wealth. He'd sit with Mia and listen to her stories. He helped Rosa fix the broken drawer in the kitchen. He asked questions, not about her hardships, but her dreams. "You ever wanted to do anything other than cleaning?" he asked one night as they drank chamomile tea. She laughed, surprised. "I used to want to be a vet assistant. Always loved animals. But life had other plans." Logan didn't press, but he remembered. Rosa didn't know yet that the man sipping tea in her kitchen was the same Logan Vale whose net worth was splashed across financial magazines. She didn't know he had millions of followers, that people would pay just to shake his hand. To her, he was Logan, the man who smiled at her daughter's drawings, the man who never made her feel small, even in the shadow of everything she didn't have. What she also didn't know was that Logan's return to her home wasn't just about gratitude. It was about healing. Zeus had brought Rosa warmth. Rosa had unknowingly returned something just as priceless to Logan, a glimpse of the humanity he thought she'd lost long ago.
Over the next few weeks, Rosa's life changed in the most unexpected of ways, not through sweeping gestures or grand announcements, but through the slow, gentle unfolding of unexpected friendship. Logan visited often, always dressed in simple clothes, never drawing attention. He never came empty-handed. Sometimes it was groceries, other times it was books for Mia, fantasy adventures, or dog care guides. One morning, he arrived with a portable space heater when the apartment's own gave out during a cold snap. Each gift was useful, thoughtful, never flashy. And yet, it wasn't the things Logan brought that transformed the apartment. It was the warmth he carried with him. The way he listened when Rosa spoke. The way he praised Mia's drawings. The way he rubbed Zeus's ears and whispered, "You saved me too, buddy." One Saturday morning, Rosa was adjusting her apron before heading to work when Logan asked if he could walk with her. She blinked, surprised. "You wanna come to the mall?" He smiled. "I'd like to see where you work." It was an odd request. Most people spent their lives ignoring her job, not asking to see it. But she shrugged and agreed. They rode the bus together, standing shoulder to shoulder among commuters and early risers. As they walked the marble corridors of Solaris Mall, Rosa showed him the janitorial closet with the leaky sink, the cafeteria where she ate lunch alone, the floor panels near the fountain that always squeaked. "You know this place like it's your home," he remarked. She chuckled. "When you scrub every corner of a building, it becomes part of you." As she mopped the tiled corridor near the north wing, Logan watched silently. He saw the way customers walked around her without looking, the way some wrinkled their noses, the way a store manager barked at her over a spilled drink she hadn't even seen yet. Logan clenched his fists, but said nothing, not yet. Later, over lunch in the small staff break room, he asked, "Have they ever offered you a promotion?" Rosa looked down at her sandwich. "Promotions don't exist in cleaning crews. You just mop until you can't anymore." There was a long silence. "I think that's wrong," Logan said finally. Rosa smiled softly. "It's just life." But Logan disagreed, deeply. That evening, after walking her home, Logan stayed outside for a long time, looking up at the sky, the distant stars barely visible behind the city haze. His mind was racing, not just about Rosa, but about his own life, about the empire he'd built that no longer felt like it had a soul. In Rosa's world, people still said thank you and meant it. They hugged, they listened, they fed stray dogs and helped without expecting anything. He missed that world. So Logan made a call. The next week, a change swept through Solaris Mall like a quiet wind. At first, it was small things. The janitorial staff received new equipment, lighter carts, ergonomic mops, improved gloves. Then came a new set of uniforms that actually fit and looked professional. The janitors were baffled. Then the raises came, substantial ones. Word spread that the mall's board of directors had received a recommendation from an anonymous investor to improve treatment and retention of service staff. Rosa didn't connect the dots until one evening when she found Logan waiting outside the staff entrance. "I may have pulled a few strings," he admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. She stared at him, stunned. "Why?" "Because people deserve better," he said simply. "Because you showed me what compassion looks like in action. And because others should follow your lead." The next time Logan visited Rosa and Mia's apartment, he brought something unusual, a folder. Inside were documents, neatly printed. "I've been thinking," he said. "You said you once wanted to work with animals, that you dreamed of being a vet assistant." Rosa nodded slowly, unsure. "I own a foundation. Used to fund tech education, but we've expanded it recently. There's a scholarship program we're offering now, fully paid veterinary training, flexible schedule, childcare stipend." She stared at the papers. Logan, I'm almost 50. I haven't studied since high school. I clean bathrooms." "You care," he said gently. "You nurtured a dying dog back to life. You sacrificed everything for your daughter. The rest is just learning." Her hands trembled. "I don't know if I can." Logan took her hand. "But I do." The next day, Rosa broke the news to Mia, who burst into tears of joy and hugged her so tight Rosa couldn't breathe. "Mom, you're going to be amazing," she whispered. Rosa cried that night, silently, with her hand over her mouth so Mia wouldn't hear. She wasn't used to receiving. She wasn't used to hope. It scared her. But it also lit a fire she hadn't felt in years. Meanwhile, something else was growing, something Rosa hadn't expected. One evening, Logan stayed for dinner. Mia insisted on making a arroz con pollo, and Rosa hovered protectively as she cooked. The meal was simple but full of flavor, and Logan ate like it was a feast. Afterward, they played a board game by candlelight, power flickering again. Mia beat them both soundly. As Rosa cleaned up the dishes, Logan stood beside her in the tiny kitchen, drying plates. "You know," he said, "I've been in 1,000 restaurants, 5-star ones, but this kitchen, this food, this family, I've never felt more at home." Rosa blushed. "It's nothing fancy. It's everything." She looked at him then, really looked, and saw the sadness behind his eyes, the loneliness, the weight he carried despite his money. "You're not just here for Zeus," she whispered. "No," he admitted. "I'm here because you and Mia reminded me I still have a heart." But not everyone was happy about Logan's growing bond with Rosa. Some members of his inner circle, his business advisors, legal team, began to question his frequent disappearances. A few even tracked him down to the neighborhood, urging caution. "She's a cleaner, Logan. What if she's using you?" Another warned, "Your name's tied to billion-dollar deals. You can't just vanish into a one-bedroom flat in the suburbs." But Logan shut them all down. "I'm not a product. I'm a man, and I choose who I spend my time with." Still, their words planted seeds of doubt. Not in Logan, but in Rosa. She began pulling away, just slightly, missing calls, avoiding too much conversation. She didn't want to be a burden, didn't want to become a scandal. She thought she was protecting him. But Logan noticed, and it hurt.
It started with missed calls. At first, Logan thought Rosa had just been busy. He knew her schedule was exhausting, working long shifts, studying late into the night for the online vet assistant course he had helped her enroll in, caring for Mia, still fighting waves of illness. But then she didn't respond to his texts. She canceled 2 weekend dinners in a row. The usual warmth in her voice was dimmed when they spoke. It was subtle, polite, but unmistakable. She was pulling away. Logan sat in his car one night after another failed visit, watching the flickering light through her apartment window. Zeus was with her. He'd insisted Rosa keep him a little longer during his recovery, and because Mia begged. He'd wanted Rosa to feel like Zeus was her family too. But now, he wondered if that had been a mistake. In truth, Rosa's silence wasn't born of ungratefulness. It was fear. A few days earlier, a sharply dressed woman had shown up at the mall during Rosa's break, claiming to be from Logan's estate team. She'd found Rosa behind the food court, holding a sandwich and trying to rest. "I'm not here to be rude," the woman said, her voice clipped, "but we need to understand what's happening between you and Mr. Vale." Rosa had stiffened. "Nothing is happening." The woman tilted her head. "You've been accepting gifts, money, influence. Some would see that as opportunistic, potentially damaging." "Damaging to whom?" Rosa asked, voice shaking. "To him, his reputation, his business. You must understand how this looks." Rosa had stood up then, heart racing. "I didn't ask for anything. He offered help." "And that's admirable. But stories can twist. The press would love a billionaire rescued by cleaning lady fairy tale. It sounds charming, until they tear it apart." The woman left her a card and a final warning. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone you care about is let them go before you become a burden. Those words haunted Rosa. She told no one, not even Mia. That evening, she sat alone on the couch, Zeus curled beside her, watching her with those wise eyes. She ran her fingers through his fur and whispered, "I just wanted to help. I didn't mean for any of this." She thought about Logan, the way he looked at her, like she mattered, like she was someone, not just a janitor or a mother drowning in bills. But what if she cost him something? His company? His peace? So she pulled away, bit by bit. Logan, meanwhile, was unraveling. He sat in board meetings and couldn't focus. His developers pitched software updates, and he nodded absently. His executive assistant, Mel, finally cornered him. "You're not okay." Logan shook his head. "It's Rosa." Mel hesitated. "I heard one of the PR advisors approached her, tried to warn her off." Logan's blood ran cold. "What?" "I didn't approve it," Mel said quickly, "but someone from legal thought they were protecting your name." Logan stood abruptly, fists clenched. They had no right. He canceled the next 2 meetings, booked a ride straight to Rosa's neighborhood. He had to fix this. But when he arrived, Rosa wasn't home. Only Mia. She opened the door in her oversized hoodie, cheeks pale, a blanket wrapped around her. "Mom's working a double today," she said softly. "She's been really quiet lately." Logan stepped inside, Zeus barking with excitement as he ran into his arms. Mia sat across from him, studying his face carefully. "She likes you, you know," she said plainly, "even if she's scared." Logan looked up. Why would she be scared? Mia fidgeted with her sleeves. "Because people like us, we don't get this. We don't get people who care, not without it costing something." Her voice cracked slightly. "She thinks she's just a mess in your perfect life." Logan was silent for a long time. Then he asked, "Can I write her a letter?" Mia smiled, tears brimming. "She'd like that." That night, Rosa returned home exhausted. Her legs ached, her hands were raw from scrubbing bathrooms, and she barely had the energy to change out of her uniform. She noticed the envelope taped to the fridge.
Mia had drawn a heart on it. Inside, a single handwritten letter. Rosa, I don't care what the world thinks we should be. You saved something I love when you didn't have to. And then you saved me too. Not with grand gestures, but with warmth and honesty and dignity. You showed me what strength really looks like. If I ever gave you the impression that your kindness was a transaction, I failed you. I don't want to just thank you. I want to stand beside you. Not above, not behind, beside. Please don't walk away thinking you're protecting me. You're the one who gave me back something I thought I'd lost forever. You are not a burden. You are a blessing. Logan. Rosa read the letter 3 times before the tears came. She clutched it to her chest and sank to the floor, sobbing into Zeus's fur as he nestled beside her. All her life, she'd been someone people looked past, someone expected to endure and stay quiet. But this man, this impossibly kind, complicated man, was asking her to believe she mattered, to believe she was worthy. And somehow, that was the scariest, most beautiful thing of all. The next day, Rosa didn't go to work. She didn't clean floors, didn't push her mop through the quiet hallways of Solaris Mall, didn't ride the rickety bus with the same tired faces. Instead, she sat at her kitchen table, Logan's letter in her hands, and finally let herself hope. That evening, as the sun began to set and golden light filtered through the worn window blinds, a soft knock came at the door. She opened it slowly. There stood Logan, in his usual hoodie and jeans, holding a small potted jasmine plant. "You once said you liked the smell," he said. Rosa smiled, tears already welling. She stepped aside, and he entered. Zeus leapt onto him, tail wagging. Mia sat at the kitchen counter, pretending not to eavesdrop. Rosa didn't speak at first. She simply offered him a chair, sat across from him, and placed the letter on the table between them. "I didn't walk away because I wanted to," she said quietly. "I walked away because someone made me feel like I had no right to stay." Logan's jaw tightened. They were wrong, so wrong. "I know that now," she whispered. Then she reached across the table and took his hand. "But there's something I need to ask, and I need you to be honest." He nodded slowly. "Who are you really?" He stared at her, surprised, but not offended. "I know your name is Logan," she continued, "but you never told me what you do, who you really are. You helped us, and I'm grateful, but I don't want to walk into something blind. I deserve the truth." Logan exhaled and sat back in his chair. "You're right." He looked around the small apartment, the cozy clutter, the warmth, the living proof of survival, and then he told her. "I'm the founder and CEO of Skylight Technologies. We build AI systems, smart infrastructure, personal assistant apps. It's a global company now. I started it when I was 23, in my garage." Rosa blinked, absorbing the weight of it. "I'm one of those names on the magazine covers," he continued. "One of those people you hear about but never meet, worth billions, private jets, security teams." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted you to see me, not the image, not the money." Rosa nodded slowly. "And you lost Zeus outside the mall." "Yes, he slipped his leash while I was grabbing something for my wife's memorial. It was the 3rd anniversary of her passing." Rosa's eyes softened. "I didn't just lose a dog that day," Logan said, voice cracking. "I lost the last connection I had to her. Zeus was her gift to me. She said I'd need someone who didn't care about wealth, who only knew how to love." His hands trembled slightly as he added, "I didn't know how much I needed that until you came along." Silence settled between them. Not heavy, but reverent, shared. A weight lifted. Rosa reached across the table and gently took his hand again. "I don't care about the money, Logan," she said. "I care about the man who brings jasmine plants to a sick little girl, the one who fixes drawers and listens without interrupting." His eyes met hers. "And if the world outside thinks that's strange," she added, "then let them think what they want." Logan exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "Then you'll stay?"
I'm not going anywhere." He smiled then, truly smiled. And for the first time since his wife's death, Logan Vale felt whole. Later that evening, Logan made a call. "Activate the announcement," he told his assistant. "You're sure?" "Yes, make it public." The next day, the story broke. Billionaire Logan Vale credits janitor for saving his life and his dog. In a heartfelt announcement streamed across multiple news outlets, Skylight Technologies CEO Logan Vale shared the story of how a cleaning lady named Rosa Alvarez rescued his lost dog Zeus and, unknowingly, pulled him from a deep personal grief. "She didn't ask who I was," she said, "and in doing so, she reminded me of the kind of person I want to be. She reminded me what really matters." He went on to announce a new charitable foundation in his late wife's name, the Jasmine Initiative, dedicated to funding education and support for low-income women in service roles who want to pursue careers in healthcare, veterinary work, and other fields of compassion. Photos of Rosa and Mia, blurry but warm, circulated online. People from across the country sent messages, support, even donations. Some critics rolled their eyes, calling it a PR stunt, but most saw what was truly there. A woman who didn't have much, but gave everything anyway, and a man who found more in her kindness than he ever had in a boardroom. The next week, Logan invited Rosa and Mia to dinner, not in his mansion, but at a local diner. Simple, comfortable. He came without security, just Zeus and a bouquet of white jasmine. There, under soft yellow lights, he reached across the table and took Rosa's hand. "I don't know where this story goes from here," he said, "but I want to keep writing it, with you." Rosa smiled through tears. "So do I."
6 months later, Rosa stood in front of a mirror she never owned before, adjusting the collar of her soft green blouse. It was the kind of morning that felt unreal, not because of anything extravagant, but because of the peaceful silence. No leaky faucet dripping, no rattling radiator, no half-eaten sandwich wrapped for a 10-minute break between shifts. Mia called from the hallway, her voice strong and full of laughter. "Mom, we're going to be late." "I'm coming," Rosa called back, still stunned by the joy in those words. They weren't rushing to a hospital, not to a school meeting explaining absences. They were headed to the launch event for the Jasmine Initiative's first class of graduates, and Rosa was among them. She'd done it. With Logan's help, but more importantly with her own grit, Rosa had completed her training to become a certified veterinary assistant. She had aced the final exams, learned to bandage paws and read lab results, and helped dozens of animals at the local clinic that had offered her a job even before she graduated. But perhaps most important of all, she had discovered herself again. The Rosa who loved animals, the Rosa who once dreamed, the Rosa who had been buried under bills and bleach for far too long. Mia, now healthier thanks to a new specialist Logan had quietly arranged, walked beside her mom into the event space, a bright community center filled with families, applause, and flowers. A banner stretched across the stage. From Hardship to Hope, Jasmine Graduates 2025. Rosa wasn't one for stages, but when the host called her name and described how a cleaning lady had once saved a wounded dog behind a mall, the room went silent. Every eye turned to her as she rose from her seat, heart pounding. As she climbed the steps, she saw Logan in the front row. Zeus was there too, sitting obediently beside him with a little graduation cap of his own. Rosa took the microphone with trembling hands. "I never thought I'd be standing here," she began, voice soft but steady. "For years, I cleaned floors and changed trash bags and went home with aching feet. But I never let go of love. I never stopped caring, even when it felt like the world didn't care about me." She paused, her eyes finding Logan's. "Then, one day, I found a hurt little dog, and I did what I've always done. I helped, because that's who I am. What I didn't know was that the dog belonged to someone who would go on to change my life, not because he was rich, but because he saw me. Tears welled in the crowd. I didn't ask to be rescued, Rosa continued, but I think sometimes the universe puts people in your path not to save you, but to remind you that you were never invisible. The crowd rose in a standing ovation. That night, after the event, Rosa, Mia, Logan, and Zeus returned to a home that was no longer crumbling. Logan hadn't bought her a mansion, Rosa had refused, but he'd helped her find a warm two-bedroom apartment closer to the clinic, where Mia had her own room and the kitchen didn't leak and the heater always worked. The walls were painted pale yellow. Jasmine vines bloomed from planters on the balcony. On the windowsill sat the first potted jasmine plant Logan ever gave her, still alive, still fragrant. They sat around the table sharing dinner, Mia's famous arroz con pollo and homemade flan Logan had helped make, disastrously but hilariously. After dishes were done and Mia retreated to her room with Zeus, Logan sat beside Rosa on the couch. "I wanted to ask you something," he said, reaching into his pocket. Rosa froze. "It's not that," he chuckled. "Not yet, but something close." He pulled out a small gold pendant, a simple charm in the shape of a paw print, engraved with one word on the back: "Seen." "I had it made for you," he said, "because that's what you gave me. After my wife died, I disappeared into my work. I built systems to predict what people wanted, but I couldn't feel anything anymore. And then you looked at me like I was just a man with a lost dog." Rosa smiled, tears forming. "You reminded me I still had a heart. You showed me that quiet kindness isn't weakness. It's the strongest thing in the world." He took her hand. "I'm not asking you to change your life for me. I just want to walk through life with you, however you'll have me." Rosa touched the pendant, pressed it gently to her chest. "You've already walked with me through the hardest parts," she whispered. "I'd be honored to walk through the beautiful ones with you." They embraced, not like fairy tale characters, but like two people who had earned their joy one heartbreak at a time. In the weeks that followed, the Jasmine Initiative grew. More women enrolled, more lives changed. Rosa began mentoring new students, many of them single mothers, immigrants, older women who thought their dreams were behind them. She told them what Logan had told her: "You are not too late. You are not too small. You are not invisible." As for Zeus, he was still a celebrity in the neighborhood. Children stopped to pet him on the street. Clinic staff called him the healing dog because patients relaxed when he walked in. But to Rosa and Mia, he was still just Zeus, the dog who brought the world to their doorstep. And to Logan, he was the bridge between a painful past and a hopeful future. On the anniversary of the day Rosa found him, they returned to the back alley of the Solaris Mall. It had been cleaned up, no more dumpsters, just a mural of a woman holding a dog in her arms. Painted in bold script beneath it: "Kindness doesn't ask who you are. It asks, how can I help?" Rosa stood there for a moment, holding Logan's hand, Zeus at her side, Mia beaming beside them. She took a deep breath of jasmine-scented air and whispered, "I never thought life could look like this." Logan smiled and pulled her close. "You didn't just change mine, Rosa," he said. "You reminded the whole world what love looks like."